Hi, everyone. This is Jillian from Jewish Workshops. It is a pleasure to be joining all of you today, and we are extremely privileged to have Rivka Malka Perlman and Devora Boroosan on the line. Before we get started, I'd love to see who's joining us and where you're from. So if you can go to your chat box, it also might be called a question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can just put your first name and where you're joining us from, or if you're more comfortable putting just your initials, that would be great too. I'd love to be able to welcome everyone. And I do want to remind you, if this is your first time, or even if you've been on a webinar with us in the past, this chat box is totally anonymous. So I'm the only one who can see any of the questions coming in. Please don't worry about anyone else on the line seeing your name or seeing anything that you're writing. Please feel free to share as we go through this entire journey today. So let me go ahead and welcome Yasmin, welcome from New York City, and Sarah from Panama, welcome. Esther from Jerusalem, Beth from Florida, Rifki from Brooklyn, SH from Yerushalayim, welcome Sharon from London, Mandy from Dallas, welcome Jerry from Chicago, Shayna from Detroit, Robin from Florida, Leah from South Africa, another Leah from Chicago, welcome. Shelly from London, oh, and Jose from London, welcome. Shalom from London, Yasha from Charleston, South Carolina. Susan from Minnesota, welcome. Michelle from New York City, and Dina from New York. Shalamis from New York, welcome. Welcome, Shoshana. Great, I think that's from Chicago. Francis from Berlin, welcome. JD from Boston, Lori from Florida, Anne from Michigan, welcome to all. And people are continuing to just flood in here, so I'd love to get to everyone, but I want to make sure that we have time for all of the amazing content we've got coming from Rivka, Malka, and Devora. Let me just grab Rosita from Mexico, welcome, and Dina from Minnesota. Welcome, welcome to all. As people continue to come on the line, I do want to remind you that once we hit capacity, it'll be very hard for you to leave and come back. So I urge you to stay on the line. We've got so much to go through today. From the time Jewish Workshops began, we've offered a variety of programs on marriage, relationships, personal growth and introspection, and so much more. First time we had the opportunity to open the doors to this dynamic sister duo with over 30 years of combined experience in the field of marriage and intimacy counseling. Since their debut course on marital intimacy, which filled to capacity quicker than any other series we've offered, countless emails and phone calls have come in requesting another opportunity to join. So we asked Rivka, Malka, and Devora to come back again, and thank God they readily agreed. Their passion for helping others is unlike any I've ever seen, so stay tuned until the very end, where we will do our best to answer as many questions as possible live on the line, and to hear about this one-time chance to join Rivka, Malka, and Devora for a full program at a special discounted rate just for attending today. It is a supreme honor to be hosting Rivka, Malka, and Devora. Just a short introduction. Rivka Malka is a transformation coach and international speaker who seeks to authentically celebrate the divine with every life experience. Through transformation coaching, powerful live presentations, life-changing retreats, and educational videos, Rivka Malka guides people around the world to a joyous place of pure fulfillment. Devora is an educator with over 3 decades of experience in teaching, counseling, and community leadership. Devora is a certified relationship coach with clients in the United States and across the world. She serves as the Rebbitzin of Congregation Netzach Yisrael and provides parenting, marriage, and relationship counseling to members of the shul and the community at large. So Rivka, Malka, and Devora, we are so grateful that you are joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone over to you. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
Amazing. It's so great to be here. Thank you.
And here's Devora. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over.
Okay, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Rivka Malka. This is my sister Devora, and we are so excited to be here with you and for you. We dream about this stuff. We talk about this stuff. We have this massive, massive yearning to just bring people hope and compassion and tools so that their intimate life can be sweeter and better. Please, Hashem. We're going to open up with a quick prayer, just asking God, asking Hashem to please bless our words, that they should be truthful and healing, and that each of us and each of you should hear what you need to hear for your life. And if something does not feel right for your life, you should be able to gently let it float away, and that's okay.
Amen.
Yes, amen. So quick check-in with our good friends out here. What is your emotional pulse today? Your emotional pulse is just kind of checking in like you're taking your temperature. How am I feeling right now? Just tap into it right now. Believe it or not, this is also an intimacy tool, but check it out just for today so we can get a sense of where people are in our group, okay?
While you're filling it in, I'll tell you, I am in a place of excitement, of happiness, of being able to share this time with you. There's such beauty and such amazement and so much healing in a healthy relationship, a healthy marital relationship, that I can't wait to spend this time with you. Malka and I look forward to this and are so happy that this time has come and that you're here to share this time with us.
So I'm going to ask Hannah. Hannah, what's coming in emotional pulse?
So it looks like someone's feeling great, weak, overwhelmed, thirsty for change, yearning for knowledge, excited, a little fearful, feeling loved and hopeful, ready and needy.
Awesome.
And people are continuing to write in, but
you can say a few more. We would love that. We want to hear.
they're writing. Nothing's coming yet.
Okay, nothing's coming yet.
Oh, here we go. Sorry. Ready for change, excited, anticipating. There we go.
These guys are ready. So, Devo, I would love to give a quick intro just to you and I for everyone, and then we'll open up our topic. Would that be okay?
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So just so you know, Devora is my big sister. And I love that so much because one thing about having a big sister who actually takes that role seriously is not only did she take me to 7-Eleven late nights when I was a youngster in need of loving attention, but it means she always knows a lot more than you. So it's very, very fun to teach with her because she is such an expert in all the topics pertaining to intimacy, unafraid, has asked questions to Rabbanim on really everything. And yeah, I'm so moved every time we teach together. And I want you to know that as you send in the questions, God willing, when you're in the course, you're going to be able to ask everything because big sister's in the house. Yes, that's my intro for you, my dear.
And I would like to give an intro for Rivka Malka, my little sister, my wiser sister, my most incredibly feeling sister. She feels deeply for each and every person. She's able to really internalize people's pain, transmit hope, really understand all the details. I myself have learned so much from her, both through her coaching and, of course, more importantly, through the person that she is, which you all have a chance to see and identify with and learn from along with me today. And gem in the coming courses.
Amen. Thanks, Devora.
She's touched so many people over time, whether it's in person, whether it's online. Her wisdom just has a domino effect across the world. And you get to be a part of that. That's pretty cool.
Thank God. Thank God. Oh, thank you, darling. So I would love right now actually to open up that space of compassion for our participants. If you're joining an intimacy course, that means you've got some questions about intimacy. And they're probably not technical. There might be some technical questions, but they're probably questions of the heart. They're probably places where you're in pain, you want more, you're not feeling it, you're wondering, like, does it ever get better? You might just feel like chronically rejected or wondering why you're in the mood and your spouse is not in the mood, or the opposite. And the truth is that what we've discovered is that when your intimate life is not good or is a hurting place, the whole marriage is hurting. It's the whole system. It's the whole dynamic. And when our marriage is hurt, our whole dynamic hurts. When your marriage hurts, you hurt. It's not like a piece of your life. It is your life. Your marriage informs how you feel on every single level. So that's why this is so important to us, and so important to you that you came on today. And what I wanted to say, just a word before I hand the mic over to Devora, what I wanted to say to you is this. The topic of intimacy is so essential and so beautiful that the pain associated with it is as weighty. And even if things are good but could be better, or things are awful but you would really like them to be changed, it doesn't matter where you are. Whatever is hurting your heart truly matters, because what Hashem wants for you is, please God, to have a beautiful experience of being seen, being held, being connected, giving and receiving, like the truest expression of a physical manifestation of love. And on some level, everyone in the world is working towards this. We're all working towards clearing away the things that are in the way of us having that exquisite intimacy. So we're all in this work together, and whatever you're feeling about it matters deeply. Devora?
Absolutely. And as Rivka Malka said, it affects every aspect of our life. When your intimate life isn't going right, when your marriage isn't going right, when you're not feeling connected, you don't perform well in work because you don't feel the same. Everything just doesn't have that same brightness, that light, that joy. That self-esteem is different. Everything about the way you perform is different. At work, as a parent, even how you show up as a friend is very, very different when your marriage isn't. You just don't have the same energy. You don't have the same wherewithal to deal with things. One listener wrote she's overwhelmed. You know how often we hear that people are overwhelmed in their marriage? Well, I'm going to guess that if you're overwhelmed in your marriage, you're most likely overwhelmed in a lot of things that normally you were able to deal with just fine, because it literally affects every aspect of your marriage. So we're going to start back from the beginning. What is the beginning of true intimacy? Well, there is emotional intimacy, which leads to physical intimacy, which leads to a happy marriage. It's one big cycle that goes in circles again and again, right? But those are really just like words, concepts. So we're going to flesh those out a little bit. Let's go back to the first, the buzzword of today. Let's talk about communication. What is communication? Communication is what you do with your employee. You communicate with your employee what it is that you need. Communication is how you talk to your friends in the grocery store. It's how you talk to your neighbor when you're asking to borrow something. It's how you talk to the person who's putting in an order for you on Amazon when it doesn't work out right. That's communication. That's not communication within marriage. Communication within marriage is a whole nother animal. It's its own language. Communication within marriage is actually connection. It's recognizing that every word that comes out of your mouth and every action that you're doing has the overarching goal of communication. Is this of connection? Is this communication bringing connection? Or is this communication putting a wedge or a wall between us? If it's putting a wedge, then it doesn't matter how clearly you've been able to make your point. You will not have a healthy, happy, satisfying, fulfilling marriage. Whether you think you're getting what you need or want, you're not getting that inner peace, that support, that happiness that there can be in a connected marriage. When you communicate with that goal in mind, with that overarching goal and that underlying pre-thinking, premeditated, how am I going to say this? And we're going to talk about some tools of how to get there. right? We'll give you a couple today, and we'll give you much more in our course, where you learn how to communicate so that your connection is so much stronger. How many of us end the day saying, I can't believe it. She didn't listen to a word I said. I talked and I talked and she listened. Or I asked him 6 times and he still says he didn't understand, or he would have done what I wanted. What can't he understand? I spoke in such clear English. I told him exactly what I wanted. I almost spoon fed it to him. What didn't he understand? Well, that's communication in marriage. You need more. You need that connection. And so we're going to talk about how you gain that connection with your spouse while you're communicating with them. And the first tool that we would like to give you is male-female dynamics, understanding the way men and women are different. Rivka, Malka?
So intro to that tool is this. Whenever you are learning about intimacy, you want to get into the juicy stuff. Give us the give us the physical, tangible, practical bedroom secrets, and we will. However, the mechanics are really the mechanics. If you do not feel fulfilled in your bedroom life, it's precisely because of what we're talking about right now. It means that your body may be there, but your heart and your soul are not totally feeling connected and alive. It means that you may be receiving from a man without really receiving from him. Really, you're holding yourself tight. Or the opposite, you may be with a woman but feel actually very emasculated with this woman. So that's why we're starting off with communication, letting you know that it's your whole being that's showing up in the bedroom. It's not just your body. So yes, 2 tools we're going to learn today. The first is the difference in male and female needs. Okay, so here's a formula. Sometimes formulas are really nice. When it comes to male and female, everyone needs everything because we all have male and female components within us. So let's just get that on the table. We all need everything. However, there are baseline things that we need. And when these baseline needs are fulfilled, now we can breathe. Now we can get the rest of it. In other words, when my feminine part is satisfied, I'm kind of ready for my masculine part to be satisfied. And the same with the man. When his masculine part is satisfied, now he's ready for his feminine part. This, by the way, is completely backed up by tons of Kabbalah on the subject of the male-female dynamic. We're just putting some really clear, easy English to it. And so it would go like this. Women need to be wanted, and men want to be needed. Okay? Women need to be wanted. Men want to be needed. What does this mean? And when you're communicating with a woman, she wants to feel, before anything, that you desire her being, that you find her wonderful, that you cherish her, that you want to give to her, that you want her in your life, that you value her, that you appreciate her, that she's the apple of your eye. And hopefully this also trickles down to a sense of the rest of me is also desired. And when a woman feels secure in that, and we'll talk about how that shows up in communication, I'll give that to you, Devora. I'll just give the overview over here. When this is available to a woman, she can relax, her defenses can go down, and she's open to you because she feels really, really valued, wonderful, cherished. She feels like a woman. Well, with a man, fascinatingly, you would think, yes, doesn't he also want to feel the same, cherished, adored, and all this? Yeah. But first, he wants to feel needed. A man desires to feel relevant, that he has something to give, that there's something that he has that you need, that there's something amazing about him that nobody else in the world has, that you absolutely cannot do without. A man becomes a man when he gets to be a hero. So just understanding like what tickles the funny bones of the heart of a man and a woman is so interesting, because so often it can be the opposite. You can have a woman being cast in the role of the hero. Oh, thank God my wife, she takes care of everything. and a man being cast as, he's so adorable, and it's almost like he's a little boy. He's so good, he's so kind, and we need all of it. We both need to be capable, we both need to be adored. But let's go into some examples, really, really practical examples of how these two communication needs and styles come up in daily conversation.
Absolutely. So I'm going to fill in a little bit here so we can recognize how this works, okay? When we talk about a woman needing to feel wanted, a woman naturally knows she's needed. Okay, she also wants to feel needed. That's a nice part too. That's that masculine side of us. And yeah, it's still there. We all need to feel needed also. It's true. But more than that, we want to feel wanted. Part of that reason is because very often, not always, and not at every stage of life, but we're mothers. And we know we're the ones people depend on. We also know that although not typical gender roles don't settle in every single home, they look different in every home, there are still things that a woman does differently, more efficiently, is able to communicate better, and is involved with both community-wise and in the home more often than a man. That could be for a number of reasons. It could be because a man's a minion 3 times a day and isn't available to do the things that a woman does. It could be because of so many, many different reasons. It could be because of household duties. It could be because of how the job, it could be so many, many, many reasons. And yet, intuitively, we all understand that men and women are different. And women fill the nurturing role in a way that a man doesn't. That's why it's so important for children to have, if possible, and when possible, both a father and a mother. There is this role that women can feel. So we understand that we're needed. We don't always feel worthy of being needed. That we'll talk about later. But we all know we're needed, okay? Wanted is a whole nother story. We don't want to be wanted by anybody else out there. We want to be wanted by our husband. It's both a bracha, a blessing, and a curse. As a matter of fact, it was Chava's curse. She'll always be longing for her husband. We want to be wanted by our husbands. We want to be wanted physically. We want to be wanted emotionally. We want to be an equal and asked to join in the opinions that our husband has. We want to have input. We want to be asked. We want to be desired. We want to be noticed. We want to have our husbands look at us and say, "You're beautiful," and notice that I wasn't going out anywhere today. I did this for you. I'll tell you something funny. I always get my nails done before I do a class. Why? Because I talk with my hands a lot, and you see my nails, and I like to look neat. My husband is Persian. My nails are always full of turmeric. They're always yellow. They're ugly. So I get them done in a beautiful little French manicure, and it looks nice and clean and neat. I went to do it this time, and it was broke. It broke. It didn't work. It wasn't covering, and it broke. And what was I going to do? I didn't know. I didn't know. And I thought, okay, let's breathe here for a minute. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this for the people in Jewish workshops? Or am I doing this to go home and look beautiful for my husband? Actually, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I'm going to go home and look beautiful for my husband. He likes one of 2 things. He likes, personal preference, he likes either for me to look very neat and clean, which is why I do it always, but I also specifically do it before a class. He likes a French manicure, which means it looks neat and clean and looks like my regular nails, just neater. Or he likes color, and he doesn't like pink, and he doesn't like red, and he doesn't like purple, and he doesn't like blue, and he doesn't like green, and he doesn't like yellow. He likes rust. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what he finds beautiful when I get home. Now, if I didn't like it, there would be a discussion because I exist here too. But I like it also, and I know it's going to make him happy. I can fill that for him, but it's not just for him. In a way, underlyingly, as much as it's selfish and selfless and unconditional, there's a part of me that says, guess what? This is going to make me wanted. This is going to have my husband look at me and say, honey, you did this for me. That was beautiful. Thank you. Because he knows when I have a choice, I like looking neat and clean and natural. So this is for him, and he knows it. We do everything we do because we have this underlying need to be wanted. It is a feminine need that no matter how pure we say we are, and no matter how unconditional our love, it's a need that if we don't fill, we're empty. We're empty. I need to see my husband smile in the morning. I need to know he stops what he's doing and he turns to me and he said, good morning with a smile. When I walk down in the kitchen and that smile's not there, he's still busy doing whatever he's doing. I'm bereft. I'm empty. I have this big hole. I feel so disconnected. I don't know how to function my whole rest of my day. He can turn and smile at me, and my whole world is filled with sunshine. And I can do anything else I need to do that day. I can accomplish. I am a superhero because he smiled at me. We have this great feminine need to be wanted. As deeply as I can say we have this need, men have this need to be needed. And this is both in the emotional capacity, in the physical capacity, and in the intimate capacity. In the emotional capacity, there are many things we can do on our own, but do you know how much our husbands love when we ask them to fix the light bulb? When we ask them to put a new doorknob on the door? When we ask them to help us out and do things and be there and be needed for us? Do you know how a man feels when he knows he's physically stronger and more able to help us bring in the new couch or the new chair that we just bought to bring into the house and carry it up the steps? Yeah, we can do it. We can schlep. We can call our friends. We can, but when he knows he can do it, he's filling it. It makes him so happy. It makes him so happy when we know that we respect the part of him that's wiser than us in a specific topic. And we ask his opinion, not only because we want his opinion, but because we need it. Because we recognize that he knows more than we do, and we need him to fill that space. You know, when it comes to an intimate area, you know how many men, all men, I won't say how many men, it's all men. I've yet to meet a man who says, I need to be satisfied physically during my intimacy to be able to feel satisfied. What do we hear again and again from my clients, from our classes, from every man I have ever spoken to? I need to know that I'm pleasuring my wife properly. I need to know that I'm making her happy. I need to know that I'm making her excited. The only one who can do this for her is me. I want to be needed. I need to be needed. And we need to need our men. We need to know and understand that, yes, there's a lot we can do by ourselves, but we need to need our men. Hashem put our men there to fill that space in us that needs to be able to lean into the love and to recognize beauty and to acknowledge effort that somebody else is putting into us in a way that we can only do that with our husbands. And the Torah discusses that marriage is a practice run for our relationship with Hashem. And if marriage is going to be a successful practice run, because after all, our ultimate goal is to have a beautiful, connected relationship with Hashem, we better work really hard on our marriages so that we can learn how to do that. Plus, Hashem gives us a bonus. It feels awesome. It's really hard work, but it feels amazing to be loved. It feels amazing to be needed. It feels amazing to be wanted. And yeah, our husbands want us to want them too. Just like we need to be needed also, our husbands want us to want them also. But there's components of everything all together. Rivka, Malka?
Yes. So now, thank you, Devora. Now that you've heard, this is like the ideal. Imagine needing your husband. Imagine you asking him something and he feels amazing and he can make you happy. Now let's take a look at some of our realities. So some of our realities are, well, I would love to ask him for things, but he wouldn't give them to me. I already asked him. I asked him 100 times and he doesn't give me what I want. I tell him what I need in 16 languages and he doesn't give me what I want. So what do you mean he should be my hero? He isn't. He just isn't. He doesn't show up. I try, but it doesn't, And also, what do you mean telling me just that, a woman wants to be wanted? I know that I want to be wanted. Unfortunately, that doesn't help me. If he's not acting towards me in a beautiful, loving, and cherishing way, then I don't get to be wanted. So this, my friends, our friends, is actually it's like one of the landscapes that we're going to be working on, because what actually happens in the pain of shalom bayis, of marriage, is that the roles get flipped. So that, let's say a woman isn't feeling that she is wanted enough, well then instead she will close down that feeling of I want to make my husband happy, and she will close down that feeling of I need him. She won't let herself truly need him, because once she opens up to her needing, she's opening up to her own vulnerability of actually needing to be wanted. Do you see how this goes? Do you see where our trouble is? If we open up to I need a man, then I'm going to have to admit somewhere down there that I need a man, and then I'm going to have to face the fact that I feel that perhaps there isn't a man here. And the same goes for the opposite way. If a man could have a wife that is supremely capable and he longs to be the hero, but deep in his heart, he tells himself, she doesn't even need me. She's so good at everything. She manages everything. Like, what else? What do I even give to her? I feel like such a loser. And so he stops giving to her because he feels like a loser. So it's this cycle that can be, so then she's not getting a very effective man. She's not getting a man that she can actually turn to either, because she's so amazing. Let me just think if I covered all the bases. Probably left out a few, but keep it like that. So where we want to go now is to learn a tool to break through this cycle, because it really doesn't matter who breaks it right now. At this point, someone's got to break it. It could be the husband or it could be the wife, but somebody's got to break through their own inner stuff in order to bring out the needing or the wanting. Is that making sense, everyone? Can we hear from you in the chat box? Are you following along with us? These concepts are both straightforward and incredibly deep, so we need to know you're on board. We'll wait a minute in the chat box to see what comes up.
Yes, definitely. Following along. Amazing. Thank you. That's exactly my problem. Yes, thank you. Awesome. Yes.
Thank God. Thank God.
And it is something that so many of us struggle with, because we know what we want, but we know sometimes we feel like we have to tamp it down to actually not walk around miserable and dissatisfied. So if I'm going to stay in this marriage and I'm going to be a two-parent family, or I'm going to give my all, I better turn down my needs a little bit. That's not really what we want to do.
No.
So let's learn how not to do that.
Awesome. Okay. So the first thing is, Devora gave you the framework. You at least know what you're looking towards. And we're going to first look at it like an external framework. In an external framework, get your brain on, if you're a woman, that somehow you're going to work on your character, language, and communication to open up a needing of this man. Okay? In further classes, we'll break that down, but just open up the idea. You're going to be needing this man. And the same thing with this man.
How are you going to open up the idea? Oh, I stepped on you again.
Go ahead.
Something I'm working on here. Okay, how are we going to open up to this idea? I want to give this as our first tool, if that's okay with you, Rivka Malka. I'd like the first tool for you women out there to close your eyes and imagine Stamped across your forehead are the words, I am willing to be vulnerable. I'm open to being vulnerable. Give me a chance. Okay? And I want you to close your eyes and imagine it's there and say to yourself a few times a day, I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm open to be vulnerable. Give me a chance. And you know what's amazing about that? What's amazing is, as Rivka Malka said, changes in marriage don't have to happen from both. It can come from one person changing and the way they respond, come on, pun him, I'll pun him. The Torah says, when you look in water, what do you see? You smile, your reflection in the water smiles. If you smile at another person, they're going to smile back at you. When you're willing to be vulnerable, you've now opened up the atmosphere in your house and in your communication for being vulnerable. And that communication can now become connection. It's now opened up to being connection because you don't have blockages and roadblocks and walls put up. And therefore, when your husband will look at you, he'll see you're willing to be honest. You're willing to lay it on the line. You're willing to be vulnerable. You're even willing to be hurt if that's what's going to take. Although we hope he's more gentle, but you're willing. And so he will respond to you in kind. So women, that's your first take-home tool. Rivka Malka?
I'm going to go deeper into that. So do you want to say about the men first? Because I want to talk about vulnerability.
Talk about vulnerability first, and then we'll go back to the men. I want women to let this settle in for a minute, and I want the men who are here to be listening and recognizing that this is not something that's easy, and that it takes time to process, and it takes time to incorporate into your being, and it takes time to get the courage to be vulnerable. We're going to give women a little bit of time while you talk about what vulnerability really is.
Sure. So we women are very, very strong. Literally, we are so strong. And underneath that strength is what I call the baby. I sometimes call myself a baby queen. I could be a queen. And I could be a baby. There's literally a baby in there. So the baby, pardon me if that language is offensive to you, the soft heart in there is so naturally vulnerable and needy that it can be hard to express. So, for example, there was a time when I wanted a particular compliment that my husband felt awkward about, okay? And it just was like, I really needed it. I really, really needed it. I'll be very honest. It was, I want you to call me beautiful. That something in my brain got me like, I want that so badly. And something in his brain was not going to be doing that. And I remember that I was very vulnerable, or what I felt was vulnerable. And I said, I really need these words. They make all the difference to me, please. And they didn't really come. They did not really come. So what is vulnerability if not for asking for your needs? So what I learned with time is that there is a place called the mind and a place called the heart. When you say something from the mind, it is information, and it is sometimes a demand, and it is sometimes an accusation. You're not really showing your femininity. You're not showing that baby heart. You're not in it with a soft heart. You're protecting yourself from getting hurt. So you're saying it, I really need this. And trust me, I speak so nicely. I really need this, my darling. It makes all the difference to me. And still, I was in a protection. And we're going to learn about that in a moment. But just think about it like this. That was my mind. Now, if I come to my heart, if I would talk about what it means to me to be called beautiful, I would probably be crying, actually, because that's how deep it is for a woman to need to be attractive. I wouldn't be demanding. I wouldn't be asking. I would actually be crying. Well, I didn't want to cry. I wasn't connected to that part of myself. But that crying is my beauty of my femininity. And it would awaken his masculinity. that wants to come in and take care. Instead, back in the day, and this is about a decade ago, what it ended up doing was, I'm saying I need something that you're not giving to me, so you don't feel good as a man. So this thing that I was aiming for vulnerability wasn't quite vulnerability yet. Devora, would you like me to speak more about vulnerability, or do you want to go to the next topic?
No, please continue.
Okay. So
More about vulnerability.
More about
Then
vulnerability.
I'll follow up with men. Yeah.
Excellent. So think of it like this. We all have defenses, places that we are terrified of. I'm scared to be unwanted, unloved, alone, all of these things. And when those things get triggered, we can go into a protection. And the protection, think of it all the way on this side, is a protection. I have protective behaviors. Protective behavior means I get very busy, or I get very bossy, or I get very controlling, or I shut down and I'm just quiet and pleasant and polite and nice, but you're never going to get to my heart. Any of these things are protections, or I laugh. I become so powerful, or I become so powerless, essentially. And all of these things are protections. And when we're in protection, we are not open to intimacy, okay? On the other side of the protection, all the way over here, is called learning, which means I'm open to learn something new in every moment. I'm open to the experiences life sends to me. And how I am in learning is different for everyone, but it's a certain amount of openness in our thought process. I'm willing to hear, I'm willing to be with. So if here is learning and here's protection, here's learning, what's in the middle? In the middle is the fear. Okay, in the middle is the fear. So when we're looking towards intimacy, where do we need to stand? Well, we're not open yet, because we're like Devora in her kitchen, not getting that hello one morning. She's not feeling open, her protection wants to come up and she wants to feel very bad and get nice and quiet. But where does she stand? Right in the center of the fear. I feel the feeling of my heart. And I'm going to superimpose your heart over here. Devora's heart says, why didn't he say hello to me? Doesn't he know I need that? I always tell him. I feel bad. It's just a quick thing. It just makes all the difference. So she could go to the protection and get mad at him. She could go to the other way and pretend it doesn't matter to her, but it does. So standing in the center of the feeling, in the center of the heart, is where the intimacy is, which means I hold my own experience. I'm holding my true feeling, and I'm holding his experience, not blaming him, but I got to be true to what's real. And then I say the intimate words. When you say hello to me, what it does to me is it melts my heart and makes my day. Could you please say hello to me? And being real really matters to me. I'm telling you the softness of my inner heart. Nothing wrong with you. It's not about you. It's about standing in the center of myself. And I'm sharing that self with you. And when you do this, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. You may or may not get that hello. You may, if your husband or your spouse can meet you in that moment, or in this time of your journey in intimacy, you may get it, or you may not. But you are open now to an intimate connection in marriage, and now you can work together.
And that is true in a soft place that comes from a woman's heart, and it's true in a soft place that comes from a man's heart. And women, now that you've had a chance to let this concept of vulnerability settle inside of you, I want to talk about what men have to do, what takeaway tool. Before I talk away your actual takeaway tool, I want to address the women again. Women, as hard as that was for you to visualize actually being able to express your needs, and as hard as it was and as scary as it was to be willing to try and be in a place of vulnerability, to think about even touching that place of fear, I want you to know that for a man, it's at least 100 times harder. Not only does society talk about what it takes to be a man, so not only do we have it inborn inside of us, expectations of what a man is supposed to be, There's also Torah expectations. There's also the expectations that we put on a man just because he is our other. So we almost expect him to fill in for all the things we can't, which is why we put in protections when he doesn't meet those needs. And what we've basically done is we've set him up for failure. And then we say, okay, now that I've set you up for failure, please be vulnerable and honest with me. And any normal, sane, healthy man will say, what? And set myself up for rejection, for even more failure? I can't go there. I can't do that. And so he goes back into his protection, which is strong. It could be angry. It could be outside of the house more, doing for others. It could be that excuse of, I'm busy with chesed, I'm busy with shul, I'm busy with my community, I'm busy learning, I'm needed at work. It could be all sorts of things. It could look just shut down, not involved. But in reality, what that's saying is, I bumped into a wall of vulnerability and I'm afraid to go there. And so just like a woman has that fear of going there, a man has even a greater fear of going there. And so men, now that you're women, understand that there's this big wall, both societal and human and interactively with your spouse, that could show up. I'm going to ask you to imprint across your forehead, I'm taking down the wall. I'm willing to face the fear because my relationship is the most important thing in the world. Let me add that actually, my relationship with you is the most important thing in the world. And recognize, ladies, how much courage that takes. Men, let's say it again. I'm taking down the wall because my relationship with you is the most important thing in the world. That's really hard work. That's courageous. That's brave. That's the stuff that makes a real man.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is when your man can do that, that gives him the freedom when you say, I really need you to take care of this, for him to say, I'd love to take care of it, but I know I'm not going to get to it for a couple of days. I have this coming up and this coming up. Is it okay with you if I take care of this on Sunday when I have more time available? It gives him the ability to help you meet your needs, and it gives him the ability to shine and not be set up for failure, because that is real connection. That's just not communication. Remember, we said that within a marriage, communication is not just communicating your need, it's connecting. Well, by letting him take down his wall, by giving him permission to be vulnerable, he is able to explain to you what he is and isn't able to do to meet your needs. And he's able to hear, well, if you really need it done by the end of the week, let me see if I can work in a time slot to make sure that I can guarantee that this is going to happen. And I'm not going to make a commitment that I can't meet and have you disappointed, because I want to do this for you. How amazing does it sound to me that my husband wants to do this for me? Wow, I never knew he wanted to do it for me. Well, you never gave him a chance to tell you. By giving him permission to take down the wall and be vulnerable, you're giving him a permission to put his relationship first, while still giving him the permission to shine as a man.
Yeah.
Do you understand that, everyone? Does this dynamic, can you put in the chat box, does this dynamic seem attainable to you? We'll give you more tools to get there. But does this not sound like the dream dynamic that you would like to have in your home? Think about how many issues you could solve by just taking down those walls and being vulnerable with each other, being honest, setting each other up for success, for connection, for thinking before you say, what's the best way my husband or wife can receive both my need, my request, and my love? What's the best way they can recognize my acknowledgement? They can recognize the respect that I have for them. What's the difference between hearing words, "You're awesome, I love you," and saying, "Wow, you went above and beyond what most people would have done in this situation. I'm so proud to be your husband. I'm so proud to be your wife." That's connection.
I want to underline one of the things that you said, because I think that it's a pioneering thought, and I would like our participants to tune into this deeply. And the idea that you said that I want to underline is we are setting the men up for failure, expecting them to fill every need, not allowing them to be human. And that can show up sometimes in religious observance, needing them to be at a certain level to hold on tight, as if they're carrying the whole thing for everyone. Or it can be at a financial level, as if they should be able to provide a certain amount. Or it can be on an emotional level, like you need to be in a certain mood so that I can feel secure and safe, etc. And, I remember a particular incident. I wouldn't be in this business if I didn't have my own learning to do. And we all do. So I remember a particular trauma that our family had. And I was working very, very hard on forgiveness for this trauma. Very hard. And that was my work that Hashem gave to me. And my husband was very down about it. It got him literally into a dark, dark place. And I would tell him, like, I let it go for a little bit. And then I was like, okay, look, we got to forgive. We got to move on. We got to be strong. We got to that. We got to that. And here's how it works in the Torah. And here's what we're going to do. And we just have to let it go. And then I let it go and I moved on. And I remember like looking at him thinking like, come on. Well, you know what? Time passed. And there was something else that happened to me that I found it hard to forgive. I had to actually allow myself a lot of self-compassion for the process of deeply being hurt. And I suddenly looked back. I had a snapshot in my mind of how I placed my husband in a place of, why aren't you over this already? You have to be. And how I demanded this strength of him and didn't allow him his human experience. And obviously apologized in retrospect that I had just not been able to see that I wasn't letting him have a human experience. So what I learned from that is that really this healing begins with a woman. Even though we don't want it to, the fact is a man cannot come out into his humanity unless it's safe. If he's going to get shut down, if he's going to be disapproved of, if you're going to put him down for the money that he makes or for pretty much anything, it is a male tendency. They need to be strong to go inwards. And inwards can also look outwards like anger, but to block up their heart in any case and become, controlling or however it manifests. If it's not safe for a man to come out, he's just not coming out. So understanding that your approval, you're receiving of him, you're allowing him, you're wanting to see what's behind the wall, even if it's not God, if it's not all things at all time to all people. I just really want to see you. That's what we say, but then we don't actually, approve of all that he is. If we are willing to be with all that he is, then it can be safe for him to come out. And that, by the way, is where we find our own beauty, because suddenly we are the safe haven. We are the one that he wants. Because who doesn't want to be with someone who is safe, warm, loving, accepting, can celebrate you? So I just wanted to underline that point because I thought it was beautiful that the way that you put it.
Thank you. And I want to add one more thing. You're putting an emphasis on safety, and in reality, intimacy depends on safety, emotional intimacy, and ultimately physical intimacy depends on feeling safe with our spouse. And whereas it's true that one of us can make a difference in the entire relationship because you will get the response that you give, there are situations where that doesn't happen for a while because we all have patterns we're secure and familiar with, and we fall back into those patterns. And it takes a lot of personal growth, personal work, and tons of tefillah, because we could not do this without Hashem's help. There is no way we, as little old human beings, can get the strength that we need to be the one that brings the change into our marriages without loads and loads of siyata dishmaya. Help from Hashem wouldn't happen without it. I also want to emphasize that we have way more strength than we think we do. When you need to pull on those reserves of strength, if a child is sick, if a husband is ill, if there's a job that's lost, we pull on reserves of strength that we never imagined that we had. You know, the superhuman adrenaline that people have to lift a car when a child is underneath? It's not just physical adrenaline, it's emotional adrenaline. And you are going to draw on that adrenaline again and again. That adrenaline comes from recognizing that safe is not always attainable at this moment, but it's attainable down the road. Now, obviously, two things. Obviously, I'm going to add in a disclaimer that this is not a class for people who are in abusive relationships, not emotional, not physical, not sexual. This is not a place for them. This is for marriages that are either already amazing and want to make it even better, or for people who are in pain because they're dissatisfied in their marriages, because they're unhappy, because they feel like there's something missing. And in our classes to come, we are going to try and take as many questions as we can. And now we're going to take questions after this intro here, but an opening for you to really have a place where you can get those things answered. And I also want to put in a word of caution here, and that is, it's very easy. This word emotional abuse is thrown around right and left. He doesn't treat me right, I'm being emotionally abused. You know what? Sometimes, very real. Most often, it's just, you know, in place of, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not hearing him say the things that I want. I would like him to behave XYZ differently. I would like her to meet my needs XYZ differently, right? She's controlling or manipulative because she asked me to dry the dishes when I'm busy, etc. So I want you to take a really careful look and filter through what real emotional abuse is. But if you fit into that category, this is not a class for you. If you're looking to take what could be amazing, but is right now a painful experience or mostly okay, but there are these pains that I'm feeling that I've kind of shoved down inside of me, and you want to be able to bring them to the surface and have your husband or wife understand what you're going through so you can increase your connection, then this is the class from you. And as we move into this class, and as we talk about what it is we'll be offering in this class, I want you to know two things. Number one, the Torah has such a strong perspective, down to the tiniest, teeniest little detail in both emotional and physical intimacy. You know, I know there's still so much to talk about, but I need to tell you this Shabbos I spent with a close family friend of ours, and the young girl asked me there, said, what's the difference between Kala classes and your intimacy class? I said, well, there's a lot of differences, but it's an interesting question. I said, number one, we're not here to talk about Hilchos Nida. That's not a part of what we're talking about. I said, number two, there are certain things that you can hear as concepts. Well, you're kind of in the honeymoon phase and la la land. Communication, of course we're going to communicate. Look how well we communicate now. Why do you think I chose her to marry me? Why do you think I chose him to marry me? We get along great. I'm so attracted. What? Listen, things that go wrong are for other couples, not for us. I said, that's the perspective when you're in customer Kala classes. It's like you hear it, but you're not integrating it with who you are because it just doesn't make sense. Of course he's going to understand me. Look, I can just look at him a certain way, and he knows I'm in pain, and he says, sweetheart, what's wrong? What can I do for you? Is there anything I can do for help? Of course, our marriage is going to be different than everybody else's. And then life hits, and surprise, she doesn't always understand. He doesn't always understand. He doesn't always intuit when you're in pain. She doesn't always validate when it's been a tough day. Sometimes she wants to share her tough day first and thinks it's been harder than yours and won't even give you a chance to talk. Sometimes you're dying to have time with her, but your work schedules mean that you almost have no time together, and during that time, you actually need some sleep to function. Sometimes you're new parents and you're too sleep deprived to communicate, and sometimes you've got children who need everything from you, and by the time you sit down together, you're stuck dry. Your energy is left, and all you want to do is just breathe and relax and be accepted and loved and validated. But there's still conversations you have to have about real life. Well, Rivka, Malka, and I would like to be able to give you tools to learn how to communicate through those times so that they're not just conceptual. So we'll give you the goal, what it's supposed to look like, the hope, the dream, the fantasy, and of course, only an attainable fantasy. And we'll work from there into the tools of how to get there. That's number one. And we're so excited you're here with us. And we'll continue with us in our class where you can actually learn these tools and implement them. And we'll be available on the way to ask questions too. That's number one. And the second thing I told her is there's all sorts of things we hear about and we integrate very differently before we're married. You know, there's a couple that's engaged that we're involved with. And the girl is taking color classes now, and she says to me, she says, you know, I really need a lot of sources because my husband is, my husband is very by the book. I said, awesome. We're going to give you sources because there is sources for everything. We're going to go into the Rav who trains his daughters on how to make their breasts available for their husbands and be attractive, because that is where the Torah goes. The Torah even goes there. This is a Gemara, open, straight, understood, everywhere. We're going to go there. I said, I want you to be working by the same book, so we'll give you sources. I also want you to understand that you're coming at this from two completely different places. Whereas he has had experience before he's married, you have not. So he's coming into this with an understanding that I want to do this right. There is a Torah framework where I want to do this right. And I want to do exactly what the Torah says, and I want to be as machmir as I can be, and I want to be as careful as I can be to do this right. This is not some secular thing that I've already done in my past. I want this to have holiness, kedusha. I want this to be a threesome of you, me, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of kedusha. Whereas she's coming at it as, well, I've been from my whole life. The Torah allows us to do these things. It opens up the possibility for these things. So let me learn what is allowed and what is not allowed, and let's discover each other. I want you to know that when you're talking coming from two completely different backgrounds. You're two different people with different childhoods, different experiences, different viewpoints, and different innate personalities. And so while we're learning this, I want you to know that you could be hearing the same words, but it's filtering through everything that makes your husband who he is, and you as your wife who she is. So when you hear this in a chassan kala class, you only hear through your own point of view. When you're hearing it now as a married person, you're hearing it with an understanding that your significant other, your partner for life, your husband, your wife, the most important person in the world, in the most important relationship in the world, outside of that with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, has so many things that have made them that they are going to see things in a different way. And when you look at your spouse as the whole package, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the shiny, the not so shiny, is all part of who they are, and I need to understand all of that to know how to integrate the information I'm getting for it to be useful for both of us, for me to see him or her with a kind eye and an open heart, with the expansiveness that I need to attain, to embrace all parts of them. Then you've taken that communication, that connection, that communication, and you've turned it into connection. And that is the gift we want to bestow upon you, and the journey we want to go on with you in this course that we're offering you through Jewish workshops.
Yay! Woo! I would love to go through our actual classes and just let everyone know what we're teaching. Can we do that, Jewish workshops?
Yeah, of course, Rivka, Malka. Thank you so much. So let me tell you just how this journey will continue for you. Over the next 6 weeks, you'll engage in Rivka, Malka, and Devora's full transformative series at your own pace. You'll receive a new pre-recorded class each week, allowing you to watch and download at your convenience. So you'll find each class delivered to you, actually the first one right after you register, and that's going to be the new rules of intimacy. Healthy intimacy is the manifestation of exquisite vulnerability. Learn a new language that works to create new possibilities in this very important relationship. Then, an insider's view. He says, she says. What's going on beneath the surface? In this, we'll explore the male-female dynamic in depth. In week 3, the law of attraction. Learn to fall in love with yourself so you can be attractive to your partner and attracted to your partner. Then prioritizing intimacy, why you need this more than you think, and how to get it. Life can get really busy and drain your resources and capacity for intimacy. Learn the tools you need to make time for your spouse in and out of the bedroom, an intimate and halachic perspective. In week 5, hot and cold. When your spouse's physical needs, desires, and expectations vary significantly from your own, it can easily cause confusion, stress, and disappointment. Let's explore what might be getting in the way and how to turn up the heat. And finally, reigniting passion, tapping into forgotten pleasures and discovering new ones, creative and fun ideas that can bring freshness into your intimate life, tips to make your marriage the romance of a lifetime. Then, after all of that, you'll get a live Q&A with Rivka, Malka, and Devora to answer the questions you've never dared to ask. You deserve to know. So you'll have an interactive, real-life Q&A and behind-the-scenes understanding of both men and women. As you can see, this course is unique to many that we offer because, as I mentioned before, it gives you immediate access to your very first class right when you register, and then each week you'll receive a new class in your membership area, giving you the opportunity to listen and download at your convenience and at your own pace, rather than trying to schedule a specific day and time into your calendar. So many people shared in the past with us that their schedules are so packed. Now you don't have to attend a certain day at a given time, but you'll have 24/6 access to every class to watch, take notes, practice, and at all at a time that's convenient and comfortable for you. Plus, in addition to the weekly classes, you'll also get
a one-on-one phone consultation with Devora. You'll get a 20-minute phone consultation with intimacy counselor Devora to get the guidance you deserve on this sensitive and personal journey. You'll also get direct email access with Devora to make sure that all of your questions are getting answered throughout the 8 weeks of classes. So again, this is a really wonderful tool to be able to use to email Devora directly with something that's really happening, in your personal life. She takes such amazing care to go through questions and to make sure to give you the answers that you need and deserve in order to make sure that your relationship is getting on the right track. And finally, you'll also have a bonus class about talking to your kids about intimacy and sexuality. Learn the value of allowing for safe and healthy communication between parents and children surrounding body image, sexuality, and intimacy, so you will be able to develop the language to engage with your children surrounding these important topics. As you can see, Rivka, Malka, and Devora will be walking you through all aspects of creating and nurturing a healthy and happy relationship with your spouse. Again, not only will you get the full 8 weeks of classes, but these really important tools, the one-on-one phone consultation and the email access to Devora, really shows you the level of depth and care that Rivka, Malka, and Devora are taking. They create a completely different process for you than you've ever tried before. It's not like any book that you can pick up. It's not like a pre-recorded session that you're watching on YouTube. Rivka, Malka, and Devora will really get to know you throughout the next 8 weeks and take personal care to answer your questions and make sure that they guide you to the fulfilling marriage that you really deserve. Most importantly, by investing in yourself right now, you'll be able to reconnect with your spouse, rekindle your marriage, and create a safe haven so you can be vulnerable with each other without feeling judged. Establish open lines of communication to ensure that your needs and your spouse's needs are being fulfilled with love and understanding. Let go of feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt so you can attract and be attracted to your spouse by accepting the beauty and uniqueness of your body. Overcome emotional, physical, and sexual intimacy issues like feelings of resentment, mismatched desire, and dealing with rejection. You'll be able to protect the sanctity of your marriage by nurturing trust and respect and never feel lonely or unloved or unsatisfied again. And really be able to prioritize the intimate time you spend together to enhance your connection and have a satisfying relationship. In the several questions that have actually already come in today, and we've had so many come in ahead of time, but we had a lot of questions, which we're about to get to in just a few minutes, really about prioritizing intimacy, helping people with, being able to juggle the children and then still have intimate time afterwards. And so it's wonderful to see that Rivka, Malka, and Devora are going to be touching on these exact issues that people are bringing up right now. So let me go ahead and show you exactly how this is going to work. So you can become a basic member today for just $297, and you'll get the full 8 weeks of classes. Or you can become a platinum member today. You'll get the full 8 weeks of classes plus the one-on-one phone consultation. You'll get email support from Devora and that bonus class on talking to your kids about intimacy for only $397. Plus, there are going to be payment plan options available to you when you click to register. So to make it just a little bit easier, you don't have to pay all at once. You can have a payment plan option available at the ready. I'm going to go ahead and share the link with you in just a moment. But before I do, I just want to make one more quick announcement. And if you've been on some of our webinars more recently, we had this wonderful idea from one of our members who joined us a few months back. She really loves listening to all of our classes. Of course, unfortunately, she can't afford to get every single one of them, but she wanted to see if we could hold a raffle and give one lucky winner the whole package for free. So we've done it for the last several webinars of ours, and people have really loved it. And I thought, why not? Let's try that again. Give everyone here that opportunity. So as soon as you purchase during this next hour that we're on the line, you will also automatically get entered into our wonderful raffle, and you'll have the opportunity to get your seat completely free. So you're going to go ahead and register now. Again, anyone who registers while we're still on the line over the next hour or so will get automatically entered into the raffle. And if you're chosen as the winner, when we pick that tomorrow, you will be credited and you will get your whole package for free. So let me go ahead and put the link right into your chat box to make it easier for you. It's www.jewishworkshops.com/intimate. And you can actually just copy and paste that right out of your browser so you can open a new one and still stay on the line and listen to the question and answer session, which we're coming up right now. I'll put it on your screen as well, just as a reminder. When you get to that page, jewishworkshops.com/intimate, you'll see all of the material I just mentioned. You'll see which classes you're going to be getting. You'll see all of the bonuses that come along with it. And you'll have your option between your basic membership and your platinum membership. When you click to register on that page, you'll find the order form with the payment plan options available. So you can choose whichever one best fits your needs. And then all I ask is that once you are all set and registered, just come on back and let me know. Put your name and the words "I'm in," just your first name, or you can put your initials again and the words "I'm in," so that I can go ahead and welcome you as a brand new member. I also just want to make sure that you know that you are confirmed and you've got your spot in our raffle as well. And if you have any trouble registering, oftentimes people, the traffic to the website all at once can clog some things. People have a little bit of trouble sometimes getting through. If that's the case, just come on back and put your name and your telephone number right in here so that we can give you a call and help you register right over the phone. Of course, if you have questions or need any help registering, just please, again, come on back and put your name and telephone number in so that we can call you and help you register right over the phone. And again, as long as we have your information and we're able to get in touch with you to help you register, we'll certainly put you into the raffle that way too. So let me go ahead. We're going to go get some questions here.
So
Devora, I
before we
just
get
want
to the question, I wanted to add one more thing to the course, may I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Sometimes course titles don't do it justice. So I wanted to let our participants know of the broadness that this course covers. So along with all the communication and the vulnerability and the body image are very, very practical and explicit, important details about halachic positions, foreplay, lingerie, anything related to the bedroom, anything related to the body, weight, moods, depression, medical issues, touch, pleasure. All of this is going to be covered in the course. It couldn't all be in the titles. It would be very, very long titles, but it's important for you to know that our course is specifically geared to be the most helpful possible. So we're not talking up here. We're talking about what physically, tangibly happens in your life. Thank you.
In
Thank
a
you so
very
much.
halachic and very halachic practical way.
Devora, I also just want to pass it over to you for a minute before we get to these questions. You can talk to us a little bit about your experience with those phone consultations and the personal email access to help people really understand what that entails and how much they're able to ask, how much they're able to get in touch with you. I think that piece of the journey is like no other that they can get anywhere else. So I just want to make sure it's, really important for them to understand what it is that they're going to be able to get with you.
Absolutely. So let me preface this by saying that my absolute passion, my goal, my desire in the entire world is for everyone to experience shalom bias. And therefore, when I get a question or when I get a phone call, I really give it the seriousness and the thought and the time that it takes. And you're allotted 20 minutes, and often it goes way more than 20 minutes. Because it's important to me that if there's something that needs discussing that can bring in better intimacy, connection, happiness, more fulfilling physical life, that you are able to find it. And I really try and give the best possible. Now, I happen to be better in talking and in phone conversations with the back and forth than I am in email. So I get asked all sorts of questions by email. Sometimes the questions are so long and detailed, I'll say, let's set up an appointment. Make sure that you're on the list and set up an appointment because these are so important to address, and I can't address them all by an email. I tried that in the beginning, and I can't even tell you how many hours a day on emails. Plus, I didn't get your instant feedback and your questions, so it was a back and forth and back and forth and back and forth that just didn't do the topic justice. Occasionally, I'll just be asked a more simple question. Who did you ask this shaila to? Can you send me the source? Is this okay that I responded this way in this situation? Is it okay if this is a need that I have? What would be a better way for me to say this, right? Those types of emails, I'm happy to answer by email. But very often, I will say, make sure you go through Jewish workshops, you set up an appointment, because I really want to give you the time that it deserves, because these are important questions. These affect your entire shalom bias, and I literally put my heart and soul, and often Rivka Malka is a part of that also. When I get these questions ahead, and I know what I'm preparing for, I literally prepare because it is that important. And even though this is what I do as a partner, I mean, I do this. I speak with couples all day long that are having marital issues, and I could just give you what's off the top of my head, but it's so important to give you all the Torah sources if you want them. Not everyone wants them, of course. Most people are more than happy to trust that. I've looked it up, and I'm not telling you just my own, wisdom here, my own chachmas that obviously are Torah-based and experience-based, but experience-based for many people are not enough. They want to hear the Torah sources also. And it is my responsibility, which I take very seriously, to have those sources, to be able to have the Rabbanim that I ask the Shilas to available, and to have the sources for things to back what it is that we say here on the course. And to give you, most importantly, the time that you really need. Because the time that you need means we, Jewish workshops, Rivka, Malka, and I, your time is valuable, our time is valuable, your money is valuable, your investment is valuable, and your investment is because you really care about your shalom bayis. You want things to be better, you want things to be stronger, you want to feel more like a unit, you want to bridge that chasm that you have right now. You really want to be a unit. And I take very seriously that we want to try and help give you the tools that can help you accomplish that.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful. Thank you. I want to go ahead and just welcome our brand new members. Welcome, Sarah, and welcome, Esther. Welcome, Malka and Shoshana. Please continue to come on back and just let me know once you're registered. It's www.jewishworkshops.com/intimate. You can, again, just put your initials in the words I'm in. I just would love to be able to welcome you. And again, just kind of keep a tally of how many people are joining the course so we can keep it as, no pun intended, but as intimate as possible, and still have a nice group of people who are able to get as many questions of theirs answered as possible. So speaking of that, let's get to some of the questions that came in. We had... Sorry, I'm going to just go back up here a little bit.
Jillian, if I can interrupt for a minute, I want to add one more thing. And that is that the people who reach out to me are men, are women. Sometimes it's couples together. Sometimes it's men who don't want their wives to know that they're sending in a question. They just want to be the best that they can be. Sometimes it's women alone who aren't really sure. Sometimes it's couples who are having a disagreement and really want to both speak with me at the same time. And, in those cases, I'd like you to send it in to me. And if you feel like it would be more helpful, I'm willing to do our half-an-hour meeting in a Zoom so that I can talk to both of you together so you can both hear what I have to say at the same time together. Because marriage takes effort and it's so worth it. And I want each and every one of you to be able to say that by the end of our time together. Marriage may take effort, but it's so worth it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I do also want to reiterate, when you purchase the course, whether it's basic or platinum, of course, you and your husband can take it alone, take it simultaneously, take it together. You'll have that one membership area that you can log into, but you can listen to it, like I said, either together or apart, but both of you are able to listen to it with just that one membership. So I know we've gotten that question in the past as well. And HC, welcome. I'm glad that you're in. And again, you are entered into the raffle. So please just, again, come on back and let us know. This question came in. How do you say something that you want done differently without making your spouse feel inadequate or feel bad that he wasn't doing it right beforehand?
Rivka, Malka?
Well, I always think that the first place you start is from the inside. Do I have an inner blame on him that he wasn't doing it right beforehand? And I own this as something that I want, not as something that he's wrong about. He's not intrinsically wrong. It's just something that I want. And the more that I can own that this is what I want, not what he's doing wrong, the nicer it's going to come out. And I do find that still there is a certain sensitivity for all human beings when you're delivering a correction or a request. So it still wants to be couched with the most loving tone, with the gentlest words, with the compliments before and after, because we're human. So could you please do it like this? You always do it so amazing. And this is something new that I discovered that I like. Can you try and do it like this? That would mean so much to me. That's kind of how I would put it. Did you want to add to that, Devora?
I think that when you pick and choose the things that you ask, after doing that internal work and seeing, is this just something I want? He's not wrong about it. You have to also go through the process of, which we'll talk about in our course. So I'm not going to go through all the details now, but you want to, number one, think about, have I gotten my emotions under control so that I can ask it in the kindest, softest way possible? And also, is this something that's going to make a difference? So I want him to put a cover on top of the pot in the kitchen when he's cooking so it doesn't get all steamed. Does it really make a difference if it's getting steamy or not? When he's going out of his way to make supper tonight to be easy on me, do I have to give this request? Does it make a difference? Is it necessary? Can I put acknowledgement for what he's doing in place of this request? Or if it does need to be said, if it's something that is important to say because it actually does mean a lot to me and I've looked at the whole picture, then I've actually made that assessment already. So the way I'm going to ask it is going to be in a much more loving, giving way because I now understand how important it is to me. And therefore, I can ask it in the kindest, clearest way possible.
I love that you gave that word clear, because when we are not clear that it's okay to ask, then we don't deliver the request with clarity. And that is another possible stumbling block that can make particularly a man, also a woman, but particularly make a man feel inadequate because he longs on some level to fulfill your request. So could you please just ask it very, very sweetly and nicely, but clearly, that way he gets a victory when he does the thing that you asked him to do. So making the request, the actual words of the request crystal clear is very, very important.
Great, thank you so much. I want to get to as many questions as we have while we're still here on the line. There were a few questions that came in about men having more or higher libido than their wives, or the wives having a higher libido than the women. I know this has come up certainly in the past, and it will continue to come up. There is a lot of misunderstanding or how to deal with a mismatched libido in a couple. You know, does that mean that they're doomed forever, or how can you touch on that? Again, I know that we talked about the fact that we're going to have a full class on that, or certainly have a focus in a class, but can we just touch on that for now, like in an introductory kind of way?
Yes. Before Devora answers that, I just want to add one more thing onto our first questioner, because she asked for something really good, and it's a daily issue. You know, you need things, and everyone wants to show up really well, and that is humor and flirting and lightness. If something really matters to you and you did all that inner work, etc., now you have to make a request, it is so much softer to put your arms around his shoulders or your arms around her shoulders with a little kiss and say, could you please put the pot on? It means the world to me. Or every time you cook, I love it when the pot is on. Just keeping it easy so there's no defenses between the two of you is going to be like the best way to go, so that you don't have a lot of moments of correction, because correction is just don't feel good. Okay.
Or flirtatious. Yeah. I'd rather keep the kitchen unsteamy, and we can be the steamy ones in the kitchen.
Yes. Yes, you turned me out.
So many ways.
Yes.
So many ways to approach it. So many ways.
Yes.
But that's under the kindness, because in reality, it's kindness to yourself and to your relationship, and kindness to your spouse. In a backwards order, but yeah. Okay. Mismatched libido. I hate those words, mismatched libido. This is not mismatched libido. It's called being human. That's why this question always comes up, because we're all human. Sometimes we're in the mood, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we have stress going on. Sometimes we have medical issues going on. Sometimes we're just not communicating what it is that we need or we want from our spouse, and we're expecting them to be a mind reader. Sometimes there's things that get in the way. It could be just a really busy day, and normally we want. Sometimes we just want to be a log, and we just want to be the receiver, and we don't have it in ourselves to give the same way. Sometimes we need to be awakened. We would be if the request was there, and if not, we would go to sleep, right? There's so many human feelings, natural, human, God-given feelings that are surrounding sexuality. And this is a question that has come up for years and years and years, not just in our class, and this will be a question that will come out all the way into days of Mashiach, because this is actually human nature. And there's so many details. So am I going to give you a pat answer right now? No, I'm actually not. I'm going to tell you that we're going to talk about all the things that are going to come up and things that can get in the way of libido. We're going to talk about different ways to awaken libido. We're going to talk about newness, freshness, creativity, communication in a physically intimate way, preparation, planning, clarity, halacha, all the various things that comes up. And if I was to give you an answer right now, I would be cutting out the importance of each and every one of these super, super critical components of healthy intimacy. And without an understanding of what healthy intimacy is, you can't really attain healthy intimacy. And it's so easy to point fingers and to play the blame game and the shame game, whether you're shaming him or shaming yourself, whether you're shaming her or shaming yourself, or saying, well, I'm always ready. She's never in the mood. He's never in the mood. I want to be creative. He's never in the mood. And there's also one more thing. And that is, again, filtering through the experiences and childhood upbringings that we had around the concepts and hashkafa of sexuality, which means that something that might seem fun to me might seem scary and taboo to my spouse. Something that might seem creative to me might seem almost taboo to my spouse. I'll give you an example. Somebody came to me and said, I really wanted to do something wonderful for my spouse. I figure my spouse is out there. They see all these women dressed in a way that I would never dress, both because of tznius and because, mostly because of tznius, and also because I'm home with a house full of kids. So I decided in the bedroom, that's what I'm going to do. And they put on a black leather miniskirt for their husband. Now, some husbands would love this, and chains and a whole getup they thought would be really attractive to their husbands. And it fell flat. Her husband said, if I wanted any other woman out there who dresses that way, that's who I would have invited in my bedroom. But what I wanted was you, with your tznius, your beauty, your inner beauty, your softness, your frilliness. I want lacy lingerie, right? Whereas another husband might just as easily have thought, wow, I'm supposed to guard my eyes when I'm out there, but Hashem doesn't say we can't have it. Look, my wife is giving it to me here, and they would love that. So in reality, remembering that the Torah allows for so much, but what we allow in our bedroom has to filter through our experiences and our perceptions of what, and our what settles with us as feeling right takes time. Sometimes you can be introduced to a concept and it just doesn't feel right. But then with some communication and some discussion of this topic that so many of us have such a hard time discussing, it becomes something maybe we're willing to try. So being patient, taking time with each other, recognizing the beauty of each other will bring your libido closer to even once all these other things are discussed. So I know I gave you a very long non-answer, but it was all really important.
So important.
Anything else you have to add, Malka?
Yes, I love the word that you said, each other. I love how many times you said we get to know each other, etc. Because there's this word called an adversary, and it is possible that in the feeling of rejection, when you feel that you do have a mismatched libido, you can see your partner as your adversary. They are not attractive to you. They reject you. They make you feel bad. They disappoint you. And turning our lens towards, it's really each other. In other words, there is something to work with here. And it's a softening of the heart that, God willing, throughout this course, you'll be able to experience, actually creates a space for more communication, more experimentation, and like the coming together. Yeah, we both come from different places with different upbringings, different traumas, different things that turn us on, but there's an each other going on. And that's going to be a big shift for a lot of people who have been in a place of protection. It's only a place of protection that says, oh, she rejects me, I can't make her happy. Or he's my adversary, he can't make me happy. Or yeah. So we'll get there all together.
Beautifully said.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I just want to go ahead and welcome Hannah, welcome Yosef, and welcome B.O. Please come on back again and just let me know that you are in once you've already registered. So far, we've got, a really nice handful of people who are in automatically entered into our raffle. Come on back and let us know. We'll be here for just a little bit longer, but you still have the chance to get your spot entered into the raffle as well. And again, of course, if you have questions or need help registering, please put your name and your telephone number right into the chat box. Without that information, we can't get a hold of you. So if you need some help, please come on back and let us know. As well as any questions that you still have for Rivka, Malka, and Devora, just put them right into the question box. We're getting to as many as possible, and certainly we'll take yours if you get it in quickly. Okay, so there were some more questions that came in. Let me see if I can find the one. My husband and I, Baruch Hashem, have a good marriage, and he is my best friend and confidant. However, I have never experienced a climax when we are intimate. After 12 years of marriage, he really wants to be able to please me, and I am not able to experience that pleasure with my husband. However, I am able to experience it on my own. How can I make that different?
I'm going to let Rivka Malka answer because I need to pull up my plug. My battery is dying. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead. To our questioner, thank you so much for asking this question. And actually, climaxing is something that a lot of women have trouble with in intimacy. And it's for so many reasons. One of the reasons is just not knowing how to give instructions or not feeling comfortable to give instructions. Another reason could just be inhibitions with that part of the body and truly opening and sharing it with another. So it's a little hard to tell exactly what the issue is here, but I feel very, very confident that with a confidential phone call, you'll be able to kind of unravel what's the difference between being on your own and being with your husband. Sometimes even with your husband, your body can tense up, the muscles can guard for some kind of emotional reason that's kind of in the way. And it's not an emotional reason like there's anything wrong with you or anything wrong with him. It could even be as simple as a belief or an inhibition that's coming up. So it's very, very worth it to have a personal phone call about this matter. And yes, very, very worth it.
If I can add one more thing.
Absolutely.
That is that there's this intense focus put on what is orgasm. Most people actually don't know what that is. And it's really important to understand what it is, because often we're reaching orgasm and we don't even know it, because the range of what that is so inclusive and looks so differently for everyone. And the second thing I want to say is that there's so much focus on it that by itself sometimes gets in the way of achieving it, because we work so hard and we overthink it so much that we don't allow our bodies to do what they would do naturally if we wouldn't put so much focus on it. It's kind of like being on a diet, and the more you think, I have to be careful with food, the more you obsess about food all day long, right? So the more you're obsessing about this, the less relaxed your body is to actually achieve it. And then the last thing I would say is when you have healthy emotional intimacy, it's a lot easier to achieve physical intimacy. And when you achieve healthy physical intimacy, it feeds your emotional intimacy, which then feeds your physical intimacy. So it's a cycle that in your case, you say you have a wonderful marriage and he is your best friend. There is a place there that can feed into this even more.
Yeah, beautiful.
Excellent. Thank you. I've got some great questions coming into, so I'm going to get to these. I just want to quickly welcome Shalom and welcome RM. Wonderful to have both of you, and you have definitely been entered into the raffle. Rivka, Malka, and Devora. I feel that intimacy is all about him. I'm just here to make it work. I don't feel a huge desire for intimacy. How can I possibly enjoy it more? It seems like the whole world runs after these things. Am I missing something?
Well, I understand you. I understand feeling like it's all about him and you're not in the mood and like, where are you in this equation? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you some compassion for and some excitement for the beautiful journey that's ahead of you without kind of dissecting, like, where is your mind? Like, where are you in this? Do you feel safe to receive? Do you feel good and worthy to receive? You know, is your mind busy with taking care of him? Do you have ideas about men and women that are kind of skewed so that you're not really able to be in your womanhood? You know, are you angry at men? Is there a man that you're angry at that is getting superimposed in the intimate area? So these are all questions that come up for me that I would want to have a personal conversation with the person who has that question, because it's big. It's really, really big when a woman feels like this is totally not about me. Like it's a very, very big thing, because it is actually all about you. At the end, that's the truth, is that this is all about you. This husband wants to give to you, and even if that's not how it's manifesting right now, that's where you want to be getting to. So I just want to say there is a present waiting for you to open, and it's okay that it hasn't opened yet, and it's okay. You're not doing anything wrong, but it can open. You just hang in there, and hopefully you'll stick with us. Vera, would you add to that, please?
It's so true, Rivka, Malka. And you know what? More than just past traumas and more than just, allowing yourself is the fact that women are very not in touch with their own bodies, their own sensuality. Most women do not know how to breathe and feel their bodily feelings. I think for most women, the most they can tell you about themselves is maybe a symptom they get monthly that they would associate with their menstrual cycle. And even that, so many women can't do. We're not in touch with how our bodies feel. So without understanding how our body can function in pleasure, we think it's all about our husbands, because we're not used to tuning into our own feelings of pleasure. And because it's more visible when a man is turned on than when a woman is turned on, we don't give it the same importance. And yet, it actually doesn't happen one without the other. That excitement's coming because of you. You're not just a facilitator. Nobody, unless they're desperate, likes to be with someone who's not filling more than just a physical need.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you brought that up. Sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, continue. I love when you interrupt me. It means you're busting.
No, because you brought up something really important. I don't think we're going to get to it today, but it's the whole topic of a woman's journey to her body, to her pleasure, to her sensuality, to her beauty, having nothing to do with a man, having to do with her own self-care, time for herself, the way that she takes care of her body, the way that she chooses to dress and to move, it's a journey for many, I don't know if it's for all women, but I think it is a journey to your own womanhood. There's your womanhood that is your mother, and there is a role that is a wife, and then there is something called I'm woman, and I have a body, and I have connection, and I have self-care, and there's like an inner goddess, if you will, or whatever the language is that you like, something that is very precious in the eyes of Hashem, that deserves its own very special care. And sometimes we can function externally like a man, work, busy. And like Devora said, not really tune into that whole piece. And what I have found in my work with women is that that piece is its own discovery as a precursor to awesome intimacy, which is why I love that you brought it up, because it's this initial disconnect. What is a woman's body? What is pleasure? What is me time? What is self-care? So each of these things is an incremental, beautiful gift to unwrap on the way to wanting intimacy.
Yeah, I told you she's busting with wisdom. There you go. Love that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me just go ahead and welcome our newest members. Welcome Nicole and welcome Miriam. I think there was one more here. Sorry, I have to get to it. And welcome Dina. Okay, we've got just a few minutes left here, so I'm going to try and get to a couple more questions before we are closing up for the day. I know we actually just touched on it a tiny bit, but maybe we could touch on it a little bit more. How do you handle body image issues? There were a few that came in. One, a husband who is severely overweight. He doesn't feel good about himself and doesn't love himself. Another came in about during pregnancy and postpartum body changes, and then another about kind of that menopausal and postmenopausal stage, where also again bodies are changing and shifting, and hormones are changing and shifting. So how can we really kind of wrap our heads around all of that?
Oh my goodness, now one of these is about body image, actually. These are all about a reality check of the situation that we're in. Really understanding what am I going through and how it's showing up in my body, understanding why it's showing up in my body, and only then can you even address, how do I feel about the way it's showing up in my body? But it becomes all about your body. That's how people go into unhealthy eating habits, unhealthy yo-yo dieting, unhealthy eating disorders, unhealthy views about food that change the way they feel about themselves. So is there such a thing as body image? Ooh, body image is so important. But it's so important to understand also that body image is something that gets thrown at us constantly from the media, from what we see around, from expectations. The worst, from shadchanim. You're a little heavy. I'm happy to put you on the shidduch list once you lose 30 pounds, right? We hear this from everywhere. Honey, maybe you don't want to eat so much. You know, boys are not going to want you. Girls are not going to look at a fat boy, right? Oh, you're so skinny. Maybe you need to wear a padded bra, right? We hear things our whole life that affect our body image. And yet, when you're talking about a married couple, you're talking about somebody who had a body already that you were attracted to. So what in life happens to bring you to the point that you're at? Let's get back to that root before we can even talk about body image. And we will be talking about body image because that's something that's really important. But so many of the examples that you just gave are not about bodies at all. They're about people obsessing about how it's settled into their body instead of taking a few minutes to breathe through and recognize and realize what their situation in life is right now and what they can do to change those things. So maybe a heavy husband is not a heavy husband. Maybe a heavy husband is an unhealthy husband and you want to have him around for a really long time. Maybe a heavy husband is a husband who's under tremendous stress. Maybe a heavy husband needs a wife who's going to help him with meal planning or a nutritionist. Maybe a heavy husband is a husband who's using food for comfort because he's not having that connection. etc., etc., etc. And same for women, both on how you view your spouse and how you view each other. Maybe pre and postpartum, it affects you because you don't have the wherewithal to even think about what you're giving your baby other than what naturally you give in a maternal way. And you haven't put the actual focus on the incredible gift you give with every coo and every smile and every song and every feeding and every kiss and every cuddle that you're giving to the child, the gifts that you have, to look down at your body and be able to say, I earned these stretch marks. They're beautiful. And my husband will find him beautiful. This stretch mark is his son, and this roll of fat is his daughter. Right? Putting it in perspective. Then you can say, okay, now I need to be proactive because I don't like having these. What can I do? Well, let's talk about the fact that you're innately beautiful. Let's talk about different ways to see yourself differently and how your spouse actually sees you. Let's talk about proactive things you could do, whether it's exercise, whether it's bio oil for stretch marks, you know? Let's get as practical as we can get. But let's not start from the body image place, because that's a super destructive place that allows you to take everything else that's important in your life and squish it down to your toenails where it never gets addressed and continues to fester. Anything you want to add, Rivka, Malka?
Yeah, I hope that our participants can appreciate what a gift you just offered. That's all. Sometimes when you talk, I just want to cry because there's it hurts us, you know, it hurts to feel so overweight and so not beautiful or so PMSy or so postpartum, like as if there's something wrong with that and you're just a human being in life, and then trying to have this intimate connection, but feeling like the weight of the shame is between the two of you. And it really, really hurts. So just what you offered over here, to have some self-compassion. Hey, you're a human being in life. What's happening in your life? How can you proactively and with compassion address it? And then, yes, notice how it's showing up in your body and how you feel about that, and sometimes even what to do about that. I just think that that is such a gift, and wow, thank you.
It's so normal. I don't like what I look like when I look in the mirror.
Lost. It's
Tell me somebody who loves what they look like when they look in the mirror. Do I see every wrinkle? Do I know that I didn't have this sagging here a couple of years ago? What's going on? You know, it's comparisons also are so normal and they're so destructive. I'm sitting here next to my beautiful sister thinking, oh, I used to have that young face. Where'd that go? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, it's so normal, and understanding that's just such surface stuff. Takes a lot of work. And it doesn't mean that that very human side of us won't show up when we look in the mirror once or twice a day, first thing in the morning. Yeah. The understanding is it means I have more work to do in seeing the beauty through those wrinkles, seeing the beauty through that aging, through that weight, through those stretch marks, through that whatever it is. And also remembering that being a wife or a husband and being a parent and actually being a child of somebody, and we are all in all of those roles, and not all of us are lucky enough to be in a role of sibling, but for those of us who are also a sibling, especially not such an amazing sibling like the siblings I have, Baruch Hashem, and amazing parents of whom I learned so much wisdom from, needs to remember that they have a responsibility in this world too, and that is for good health. And putting health in perspective and what that means for you and what that means in your responsibility to the people that you love, how that's as important as every other aspect of your relationship, is something that you see. You see when you look in the mirror, when you're working on it, when it's on your radar. Just helping bring things onto your radar really helps change perspective a lot. But we're going to talk about this so much more.
Yes, lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Thank
I think we have time for one more question.
Yeah, actually, it looks like we're really wrapping up here. But what I do want to do is I just want to welcome Julie and Deborah. And I want to give you, Rivka, Malka, and Devora, I want to give you the opportunity to have some kind of parting words and closing up thoughts for the several hundred people who are still here on the line with us today. I know that there are people here who are still on the fence, who are wondering if this is the right solution for them. You know, obviously you took the first step of being here, which is extremely commendable. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. But if you're still here and you're listening and you really just want to know, is this going to help me? Is this going to take me to that next stage of my life? Is this going to push me, you know, to where I want to be? I want to give you guys the opportunity just to help close things up.
Sure. Yeah, we can both say goodbye. I just want to say a word from my heart that whenever you make a purchase, which at the end of a webinar, it comes down to a purchase. There's a lot riding on it. It's a bill, you know, you got to pay it. It's a big deal. You got to know that it's worth it. So the question of, should I do this thing, is a very real question. I just want to offer you some encouragement that you and your life are worth it. You are worth it. There's a lot of things you can buy, but you cannot buy intimacy. You can't buy it. And there's a lot of books on marriage, but that is not the same as an intimate conversation. And I deeply, deeply encourage you, if there's any way that you can make this work, I know Jewish Workshops has a payment plan, do it. That's all. It will change your life. And we've had couples come on who their marriage is not on the rocks or anything. They have a lovely marriage for the past 30 years. And they still come on and things still shift. And it is not a credit to Devora or myself, but I believe that it's a credit to the Almighty, who is really opening a big, big door to show us the holiness and the importance and intimacy that we can't not talk about it anymore. He wants it out in a beautiful way, in a holy way, but he wants us to have this. So just a word of encouragement, if you're on the fence, to go for it. I know you won't be disappointed. That much I know for sure.
Absolutely. Rivka, Malka, your points are so spot on. And I think it comes down to not only are you worth it, but your relationship is worth it. It's something you deal with every single day. How many couples eventually land up in therapy because they're in a marriage that they don't really want to leave? The love is there, but there's so much that gets in the way that had they invested in what it needed to learn earlier on, they could have been in a blissful, although continually growing and state that takes effort, because marriage takes effort every single day, every minute of every single day, but they'd be able to say it's worth it. Instead, they're struggling with so many different parts. There are so many marriages that are so solid, and when a crisis comes, like Corona, they realize that there are things that they just never really spoke about before. And now, when they're spending more time together, actually are coming between them and their spouse and their relationship. And they want to learn how to grow. And they want to nip it in the bud before it becomes something that's affecting their marriage. There are people that are really, really happy but don't feel full. There are people who know they don't feel full because they're overeating, because they're doing retail therapy, because they're spending more time at work than they really need to, because they're finding escape on the phone. There are indicators that if they really think about it, they have the happiest marriage out there. They're their husbands or wives' best friends, but there's a void. They're not feeling full. How amazing would it be? How fulfilling and satisfying would it be to invest in learning the tools that could give you that heart-exploding joy and fulfillment that Hashem makes available to each and every one of us. He made a zivug, a basher, a spouse for each and every human being out there. You think he's going to set us up to be unhappy. But the rest is work we need to do. So if we need to do this work, we're offering you the opportunity, and it is a big commitment, but we're offering you the opportunity to be able to learn the tools to do this work, to get that happiness. And we're really thankful to Jewish Workshops, and most importantly, actually, here to give you credit, because if you didn't think this was important, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have taken 2 hours out of your time to be here. If you didn't want more out of your relationship, you wouldn't be still on this webinar, listening, trying to get every last little jewel that you can get. Because this relationship is the most important relationship, and you know it and you realize it, and you want to have everything it can offer. So in addition to HaKadosh Baruch Hu getting the ultimate kudos, right down there underneath is each and every one of you.
Thank you so much, Rivka, Malka, and Devora, and thank you to everyone who is here today with us. I'm going to go ahead and just leave the webinar open for a few more minutes. If you have any questions or need help with anything, just come on back and let us know, or put your name and your telephone number in. You won't hear us or see us anymore, but I do want to give you the opportunity, if you do still need us to contact you, to get your number into the chat box. So I want to say thank you and have a wonderful day. And thank you again, Rivka, Malka. Thank you, Devora. It was so wonderful to have you.